Let's see how the Little Mermaid's getting on, shall we?
Remember the swamp? Remember my song in the swamp when I was like, wham, chicka, wham, wham, chicka, wham, wham.
Presented with all the artistic talent of getting kicked in the face. I mean, seriously, can you imagine being someone who has this opinion?
I wanna be where the people are. Wanna see 'em dancing.
Only to find out this is what's waiting for you on land anyway.
When I was like, wham, chicka, wham, wham, chicka, wham, wham.
It's enough to make anyone want to throw themselves off the nearest coral reef. But it's not like this was unexpected. Right from the first trailer, everybody knew what they were going to get with The Little Mermaid. That's why the trailer had 332,000 upvotes and 2.2 million downvotes. Fans were horrified by the state of the CGI in the movie when it came to the characters. And the creators seemed to be incredibly proud of themselves with the fact that they were going around changing the lyrics of the songs, which, because of their inability to comprehend what the original movie was actually about, meant that they destroyed all context relating to it at all. Like in the Kiss the Girl song, they changed the lyrics from, "You want her, she wants you too, go on, it doesn't take a single word." Which, because this is Hollywood and we know what the people in Hollywood are like, just seem to project their own feelings onto a cartoon and seem to have the response of, well, we can't show the world that. We're repulsive. Two things you can always rely on in Hollywood. It's always self-interest, and it's always projection. And obviously these things are going to have knock-on consequences. If this was the reaction to the movie, surely it's going to affect the reviews, right? Well, not if you listen to Rotten Tomatoes. Now, Rotten Tomatoes is renowned for being a bastion of complete integrity, and that's why if you just click through to the reviews and then click the all audience scores, you clearly get the same result as the one they're showing you. I mean, yeah, you've got the verified audience, the ones which Rotten Tomatoes have selected as the ones that should be shown on the front page, and then you've got all of the reviews. Now, this is obviously a minor difference between 95% and 49%, and so as such, I'm sure no funny business is going on between these two results at all. Oh, and then we've got the critic scores, 67% compared to the 95% audience score. I have to say, who are all these bigoted critics? And why aren't you marking this movie to the same clear, successful standard that the audience are? The audience, once again, showing those critics exactly who's oh, it gets worse, doesn't it, when you click top critics? Even more of a complete moral collapse in the critic score. Actually, the scores are kind of the same. I mean, hey, I've heard the truth will set you free, but I never expected it to be one click away. Well, two, I guess. And if you want to see something even more unusual, verified audience score, 4.7 out of 5. That's an incredible rating compared to a 2.8 on all audience. But if you compare all critics and top critics, then their averages are actually very close together at 6.4 and 6. I mean, what can I say, except that verified audience is a very special selection of the market, aren't they? Speaking of special, we've got the New York Times here saying, The Little Mermaid review, the renovations are only skin deep. I have to admit, I do appreciate their pun at the start, just before we jump off into the gaping maw of hell.
Who said what, who does that? Yeah, I told you so. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Because you see, the New York Times sees this movie as a dutiful corrective, an astonishing review, which is less of a movie review and more just a personal manifesto for the writer. Now, apparently, Disney has been atoning for supposed previous discrimination of its extended catalogue by introducing more discrimination into its live-action corrections. This is meant to be culturally reparative work, even going so far as to call it a moral redress. Can't but help thinking I've heard that somewhere before.
To be part of a redress of balance is an honour.
And there is plenty more insanity in this review. It's one of the strangest reviews I've ever seen for a movie. For instance, they see the changes as an obligation with noble intentions, but then admits that it destroyed the movie when it tried to do this, because the movie is saying we tried not to offend, not to appall, it tried to challenge, to imagine, and one thing that he didn't list in there that it tried to do would be entertaining. No, instead, this is someone going, I really want you to do it. I want you to try. You're giving me everything I want. What you're doing is an obligation. It's noble. It's your duty to do it. And yet still, it destroys the very movie that you're trying to make. And at some point, they're going to take that final step to realize that the focus on ideology that they want put on a movie is the same thing which ruins it as a piece of entertainment. Because it's basically there. It's like, oh yeah, they tried to do all of my ideas, but didn't realize that this isn't supposed to be a serious event. But it feels made in anticipation of being taken too seriously. Now you can't even laugh at it.
I got that scuttlebutt.
Hurry up.
You'll be like, what? When I drop that scuttlebutt.
Well, of course you can't laugh at it, because it tried not to offend and appall. There's no such thing as safe comedy. We get comments about how it's supposed to be a live action, but it's mostly CGI, which is actually more true than anyone thought possible. This is an article from the costume designer of The Little Mermaid, where they even say, so you made all of these beautiful costumes, and the actors didn't even wear them, or hardly did? And she went, yes. When the actors were working, they were in motion capture suits 90% of the time. 90%. Hey, we did a live action film, everybody, where 90% of it is CGI. And that's ignoring the characters, which they would probably have to do something like that for anyway. You kind of give them a pass. But I was always hoping they'd stick to the original image of them and do a sort of Who Framed Roger Rabbit style of movie, rather than just one that was fake from head to toe, or thin in this regard, I guess. But no, despite this other thinking that Disney have been doing a great amount of culturally reparative work, it actually comes down to go, actually, all of these things don't make the movie more fun or your topic. It's just less arguable. It's like, yeah, you gave me everything I wanted, and it's just kind of crap, really, isn't it? Because you see, it's never enough. It's just not bigoted enough. It's not radical enough. We haven't completely changed the entire source material. We basically just changed the main character. And while there's some audacity in that, some people have still complained. They have the audacity to think that you should respect the law and not radically change something. And sadly, the haters don't have much to worry about. Really, it seems like the New York Times is only happy when everyone else is angry, and he's like, I was really hoping that people would get truly enraged in this, that everything could pander to me, and they haven't. Although I have to say, for somebody who was apparently expecting a comedy, he certainly made one in his review, when he called this a witty, complex, exuberant, breathless, deeply American number that's also one of the movie's most unbridled, unabashed delight. And I can't wait to see how Disney is going to apologize for it in 34 years. Whereas I just want them to apologize for it now. I almost went deaf. Seriously, if you want songs to have a social benefit, you should play that in elevators. You'd be able to cure the national health crisis by the end of the year just from everyone using the stairs. But I think reviews like that really give us a window into the minds of the people making the movie is definitely their target audience, and that's the same reason they get terrible scores from everybody else in the world. And before anyone starts claiming funny business, this is a 5-star review by somebody that left it to fight against all the review bombers by review bombing with a 5-star review. They're really not sending their best, are they? Because their best are out there. In fact, Halle Bailey got interviewed by one when she went to do a Mexican review, and he absolutely loved the movie. He was full of compliments for her, and in fact, when she was on stage with him, he wanted to give her a compliment. He was saying, look, I've heard about all the controversy, but to me, my family and my kids, it didn't mean anything. We loved your performance, and we got lost in your eyes.
Nadie de los que estábamos en esa sala ayer estábamos viendo el color de tu piel. Todos, incluida mi mujer y mis hijos, estábamos perdidos en tus ojos.
What a great compliment for an actor who's created a piece of work that you really enjoyed. So it'd be weird then for her to go around and start calling it a disgusting international experience, wouldn't it? Halle Bailey recently complained about tasteless comments that she had to face during international interviews. Yeah, she must have been disgusted by those tasteless comments that she had to face. I mean, look at her reaction when he said them.
Todos. Gracias. Gracias.
Thank you so
De verdad,
much.
But you tell the impact on her, the anger that she's feeling at that very moment. I mean, this article even admits that the comments were in good faith, which is obvious to anyone who's seen it, but Halle Bailey reportedly complained to high-level Disney executives, questioning why she was brought there to begin with, and to never be exposed to interactions with unprepared journalists. I do find it interesting, this idea of prepared journalists. Who are those exactly? Would they be the ones where they've been given the questions to ask you rather than being given some element of journalistic integrity? It must be difficult for you to come down from your throne and consort with the common plebs. But as a plebeian myself, I can only say it's pretty much disgusting that you would go and do this and get a guy in trouble for complimenting you in an interview. This is his career, and I don't think a major Hollywood actress complaining to high-level Disney executives is exactly going to help his career in the future. And maybe it's just a British thing, but over here, if somebody offends you but you know they don't mean to, the polite thing to do is to let it go and shut your mouth. But really, it just looks like you were trying to take offense, especially when he said this at the start of the interview, And I don't think you can get more complimentary.
You're making history.
Estás haciendo
And it's
historia.
not just history.
No es solo
It's
historia.
making the world
Es-
a better place.
So after that, you really had to try and twist his words into something that literally nobody on Earth would think he meant, just to desperately take offense and focus it back on you for once.
Mejor lugar. Muchas gracias. Es
Because remember, rule number 1, it's always about self-interest. Where she says she wants to focus on the positivity of all the children seeing her as the Little Mermaid. Yes, it's back to that moral redress again. The more roles I'm cast in, the more everybody looks at me and gives attention to me, the more moral you get.
This represents an acknowledgement of where we have been and a will to get to where we need to be.
In fact, the amount of attention that I get and the more money in my bank account, the more moral you are. It's like a direct correlation. And you can only be completely moral when I have every single penny of currency in the world. Never before has this attitude been seen worthy of praise. And yet suddenly it's swept through Hollywood and everyone's supposed to accept it as fact. And I'm sure this attitude aligning with their collapsing profitability is just sheer coincidence. Because even Halle herself said the first time she saw The Little Mermaid was when she was aged 5. And Ariel was her absolutely favourite princess. There was nothing wrong with it then. It was perfect, just the way it was, because you saw it, it was your favourite princess, and that means you couldn't have had any complaints about it. So it's weird then when it tries to assert that since its initial release, Disney has weathered persistent criticism about the movie's sexism. And Bailey promises that her Ariel is more nuanced. Why? You saw The Little Mermaid when you were 5. Ariel is your absolutely favourite princess. Why do you want her changed? Normally, something being your favourite means you like it how it is. You don't then go and go, actually though, if I got my hands on it, I would change everything. It'd come out an entirely different show if I had my hands on my favourite thing. Because it seems more like you don't like it at all, if your idea of something being your favourite is just how much you can change it. Or is it just that the only way that we can improve your favourite is to make it all about you? Not for the masses, not for the world, not for society, but for one specific individual. Because I'm really excited for my version of the film. My version. Because we've changed that perspective of her just wanting to leave the ocean for a boy.
Every woman on the show, such agency. We don't serve the men around us.
Because, it's only true love and marriage and kids for the rest of your entire life. It's just one of them little things. This is way bigger than that. This is about herself, her purpose, her freedom. It's about her life and what she wants. Yeah, it turns out what's actually bigger than true love, a husband, and a family is, it's her. Oh, you see, we're amazing. We're independent. We are modern. We are everything and above. And I'm glad that Disney is updating some of those themes.
Oh, I'm getting
As does
chills.
Lisa.
I'm literally getting chills and staring at me.
Can do it too.
And we can do it, yeah.
Yeah, this princess doesn't do it for a boy. She does it to be independent. Strange how independent nowadays just seems to be used as a synonym for lonely. Because this is a Disney update. It's taking things that it made before, which were morally reprehensible, and it's updating for modernity. And that is how Disney is cracking the code of modern romance. Because don't you understand, Disney had to make these changes. They couldn't make wholesome entertainment that carried some kind of moral messaging and actually made sense and improved child's lives and provide children with a moral foundation that they could build upon to go forth into the world and raise families and become satisfied with themselves. No, we can't do that. This is 2023, the current year. And everything's got to change. Because not changing would be dangerous. The Little Mermaid is controversial. This is about a man and woman falling in love. We can't have that. No, don't you understand? The property of The Little Mermaid is intimidating. That's why Teen Vogue is proud of the creative team. You see, since mansplaining became trendy to talk about, adapting a story where a voice too is generally ignorant about the world around her and unable to speak, well, that's definitely intimidating. It would be easy to back away entirely from Eric explaining anything to Ariel in the name of modernity. This is a movie about two people where one of them can't talk, and they're actually suggesting that Eric might just not want to talk as well. Yeah, perhaps we could go back to the days of a silent movie where just text pops up on the screen, or she writes in a notebook. Like I say, if you're the kind of person that gets offended by everything, and people come along and give you everything you ask for with the solutions that you propose, you don't like the movie anyway at the end of it, because what you are asking for is antithetical to good entertainment. I mean, look at it from Eric's point of view. He walks along and finds Ariel, who can't talk. No wonder he thinks it's his perfect wife. Like in Beauty of the Beast, where Belle isn't a reader, no, she's an engineer who invented a washing machine. I didn't know that until I just read it. Hey, look, if you want to get the Beast as a husband, getting stuck in a washing machine is apparently a very effective method of doing so. If they wanted to show how intelligent Belle is, they definitely did it right there. That's why this is just one of many examples of Disney's STEM personalities of voice twos, alongside in Dumbo, Nutcracker, Four Realms, and A Wrinkle in Time. Their male counterparts are relatively unchanged. They lie. Stripping the male hero of the hero bit is basically a trope, and it's something that happens in The Little Mermaid. Like in the ending of it, where Ursula attempts to kill Eric, but Ariel intervenes. Oh look, Eric's attempting to save himself in a whirlpool, but Ursula's about to kill Eric, and Ariel intervenes. Not Eric doing it himself, like he did in the 1990 version. No, this is Ariel that saves the day. This is a common trope. It's not that the men have been left alone, it's that now they're just completely, utterly useless and generally bumbling fools. Just like Disney did to Willow.
Willow Ufgood here is terrified that one day he'll be discovered as the aging, talentless hack that he really is.
But there's this common trend across the reviews from the New York Times to this one that, look, you've been giving me everything I wanted. I agree that all of this stuff from the past is all horrible and dirty and old and rotten, and we need this modern take, new ideas to come through and change all of it. And then they get it and they just don't like it. It's just like this. This is Hollywood, where voice twos can't be strong if they have love interest. And honestly, I'm over it. Just because a person is self-sufficient doesn't mean they don't need something. Yes, it's like we'd already established these ideas over thousands of years, and this was a fundamental part of our entertainment, which is why entertainment was good, because it had messages that everyone innately understood as true and correct and moral. Then you came along and went, this is disgusting, I need to change it, and now you're, actually, I don't like this. And yet, despite the fact that you're going, actually, I don't like this, I think it needs to change, you're actually just suggesting what we always had, that you despise. The ability for people to hold two contradictory ideas inside their own face at the same time will never cease to amaze me. Connecting with another person and falling in love is not a weakness. 2023, where sentences like that are actually pushing against the flow of mainstream entertainment. Because when you put everything together, that's what you get. Just complete and utter self-obsession and the bizarre grift in Hollywood that the way you actually make yourself a better person is by hiring me. It's amazing when you hire me. If you don't hire me, then you're just a horrible slur. It's a bit of a traditional idea to begin with, one of repentance. Except repentance used to be for a lot of people, well, you did a load of horrible things, and then on your deathbed, you just donate all of your money to the church and your sins will be washed away. And that in Hollywood now is just, you should hire me. The more you hire me, the more people see me, the more moral a person you are. Don't you understand what it means for the world to see somebody like me? All these babies looking at me and feeling emotions is a really humbling, beautiful thing. Don't you understand how beautiful a thing it is for people to look at me? They should feel so lucky that I have allowed them to just briefly glimpse the light which bounces off my face. And the more my bank account increases, the more moral you are. And even the people asking for it, even all of the reviewers which got everything they could possibly ask for in a movie, it's never enough. Because The Little Mermaid deserves a progressive remake, but this isn't it. Because you see, the Bridgerton-style casting isn't enough to give Disney's new version any cultural depth, implying that Bridgerton-style casting, discriminatory casting, does give something cultural depth. It just doesn't give this enough of it. Yes, Disney gave us everything we want, but still not enough. It still doesn't piss people off enough. It's still not radical enough. It doesn't destroy the source material enough. It just gives me less things to be able to complain about and use as a blunt tool to threaten you with in order to get you to capitulate to my desires. Surely the response if someone takes that attitude with you is you tell them where they can go. You certainly don't listen to them or give in. You would certainly never consider them to be the person on the moral high ground of which you would seek validation from. And yet that's what we're doing. We got everything we wanted and it ruined the movie. It got 10.3 million in previews and is expected to perform worse than Ant-Man Quantumania, where over its first weekend is expected to bring in $100 million, with Ant-Man Quantumania getting 104. And if there's one thing you know from watching Ant-Man Quantumania, it's that you'd never want to be like Ant-Man Quantumania. And whoever gave you the advice to, whoever watched the original movie with you and said, no, to fix that, that's full of problems. That was a major success that turned the IP into something which people watched for decades. It's horrible, it's wrong, and it needs to change, and this is how you do it. Whoever gave that advice, they're not the people you should be listening to. Because even the critics, which would have agreed with all of that advice, didn't like the outcome of their own solutions. Because the simple fact is, there wasn't a problem anyway. And all of the things which they dislike from old movies are the same things which made them great. And until Hollywood changes, or rather looks further afield at people who have different ideas, you're not going to get different stories. And you're going to continue with The Little Mermaid, where it's never enough, even for the people you're trying to pander to. Well, those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe. More videos like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.